Greetings citizens of the UK. We are anonymous. Today we have some information to pass out to the public regarding the Scottish legal system and social work departments in Scotland. Many people will be aware of horrific failings in social work in Scotland. There have been deaths of children, neglected children, proper care not put in place to protect and safeguard children from abuse, the outdated laws regarding fathers' rights and the violation of single fathers' human rights laws right under the watch of the public eye. Many years ago women fought for equal rights, yet in today's world do you think we have equal rights for fathers in relation to children? In this series of videos we will highlight many cases of injustice and illegal actions being taken by the state to stop fathers from gaining equal rights regarding children and the use of police and social workers as enforcement against fathers challenging the system. We must warn you, some of the content in this video is alarming. Here are a few cases which we would like to highlight. This social worker accused of shocking catalogue of neglect. A watchdog to herd claims that Fiona Church failed 25 vulnerable children in homes across Renfrewshire. A social worker is being investigated over claims she failed 25 children on 64 separate occasions. It is alleged that Fiona Church even let down a child at potential risk from an possible sex offender. It is also claimed Church failed to set up an urgent home visit to assess a 6- and 4-year-old after a significant incident involving them. Police were called in to take statements from tots, referred to as KK and LL, on August 27, 2013. But Church is accused of ignoring rules to make detailed reports about the drama and the officers' questions. And she is also facing allegations she turned her back on a 6-, 9-, and 13-year-old after their names were placed on the Child Protection Register. The trio were flagged up as at risk on December 5, 2014, but the hearing will be told she failed to carry out unannounced home visits and failed to record their views. This former Renfrewshire council worker is accused of failing in her duty of care, while working as part of the Children and Families team in Paisley, by neglecting home visits and refusing to make accurate records over 4 years. SNP campaigner Tracy McGee facing dishonesty charges over social worker job. Mrs McGee is the wife of Johnstone South, Elderslie, and Howwood councillor Stephen McGee. And she is the former deputy convener of Renfrewshire Council's Social Work Committee. Mrs McGee was in the race to become the SNP's candidate for Renfrewshire South at the forthcoming elections in May before losing out to eventual winner Tom Arthur. Mrs McGee is facing claims that she reported having carried out a home visit to a service user when it was untrue. She is also alleged to have failed to follow a direct management instruction on March 7, 2014, while on February 24 of that year, she is said to have recorded that she met another service user, when no such visit took place. It's also claimed that McGee failed to meet another service user on March 14, 2014, and in doing so failed to meet relevant standards of practice. Another allegation relates to dates between July 1, 2013 and December 17, 2013, when it's claimed she failed to respond to several messages from a senior Huntington's disease specialist in relation to the health of a service user, who was appointed to her. It is also alleged that between October 2014 and December 2014 McGee failed to declare she had been the subject of a fact-finding investigation at South Lanarkshire Council, and in doing so failed to communicate in an open and correct manner and failed to be open and honest. Do you think this is the type of care social work should be providing? We have seen and heard claims that it's down to lack of funding and pressure on the system. We do not think this is the case. Here is some footage to show just how much your government cares about child welfare. Less than 25 members of parliament attended this. Have a listen to what they have to say about the system.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. If I've come in at the end of this bill, having been in on the beginning of it at the second reading, but I too want to pay tribute to the hard work that's gone into this bill, and perhaps crave your indulgence a little in just talking about something that didn't eventually make it to the bill. But can I first say how, yet again, it was interesting. It's children's bills, and having had experience of them over the last 15 or so years, children's bills have a propensity to be hijacked by things that are not in the children's bills at the second reading, that then become the headline at the last stages of such piece of legislation.
So the system hijacks the legislation at almost every turn, making it a tangled web of regulation and red tape. Let's see what else they have to say about the social work and social care system.
I welcome the measures, although some of them are a little more controversial than others, on social worker regulation and the need for continuous professional development. But the problem remains that we still have a shortage, and a growing shortage, of experienced child protection social workers. And work that the All-Party Children's Group has done in a study I'll allude to in a minute shows huge divergences in experiences in different local authorities. And at its worst, one local authority which has a 57% locum rate of child social workers. How on earth can we get continuity of care and empathy of care with deeply traumatised and vulnerable children when we have social workers who are not permanently in place to be looking after those children? That is a huge challenge that we still have a large job of work to deal with.
Would you like to guess what local authority he talks about? Renfrewshire Council. This should be a wake-up call to see out public services we all pay for are not fit for purpose, and MPs who are telling up we will spend more on social care are feeding false information to the public. There is a drastic shortage of social workers and a large workload on them. As he stated, continuity of care would be almost impossible across the whole system, letting down the most vulnerable in our society. Let's see what else is said about the system.
And if I can finish on those clauses which are no longer in the bill, clauses 32 to 39, the so-called powers to test different ways of working. And I want to congratulate the government, because this is a good example of government listening to people from across various different professions, academics, practitioners, politicians, children's charities, and others, including myself, who were seriously concerned about the huge principles at stake if these clauses had gone through. Because there are no parallels for allowing a local authority, or indeed other agencies, to step outside of primary or secondary legislation, effectively at the whim of the Secretary of State of the day. It's not been tried with adults. There are no examples of parallels within the Care Act, the Mental Health Act, the Mental Capacity Act, or whatever. So why on earth were you risking using vulnerable children as guinea pigs to experiment with a new model of working? Now, Mr. Speaker, I'm all in favour of innovation. I'm all in favour of being creative in how we can get better outcomes and better support from children who most need it, particularly in the care system. But I just don't think you need to remove primary and secondary legislation built up since 1933 on a whim, without consultation, with whatever safeguards we were promised. At the end of the day, it would mean a postcode lottery for the rights of children and responsibilities towards those children by different local authorities.
So they use legislation from 1933. Would you say it's still relevant today? Further to that, he states it is a postcode lottery. This new legislation, should we be allowing them to impose these new legislations and means test them with our children? We do not think testing out such acts on vulnerable children to be the right way. In our next video we will be exposing the use of police and social workers in the court system to violate fathers' human rights and other human rights abuses against fathers in the United Kingdom. Please share this. The only way things can change is if the people act. We all know what our responsibilities are when it comes to children. Let's help stop this horrible and downright illegal practice against our children and against fathers. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.